Last week, HBO announced that it was hacked with over 1.5 terabytes in data stolen. And if you don't know, that's a lot. Initially, it appeared that the hackers stole only scripts and videos of future episodes of the popular shows, like Game of Thrones.
But now the hackers say they've accessed the cell phone numbers and personal email addresses of actors in the critically acclaimed fantasy series. Over a month's worth of executive emails were taken, they claim. Theresa Payton is the president and CEO of Fortalice Solutions, a company that specializes in cybersecurity protection. She was also the White House's chief information officer under President George W. Bush, and she joins us now from Charlotte, North Carolina. Theresa, how might these hackers have gotten all of this information?
Well, it's hard to know as the forensics is still ongoing, but a typical way that hackers get into a network like this is through social engineering, studying the employees, studying the contractors and vendors of a company like this, and trying to trick them into clicking on links, opening attachments, and they might not even be via email. It could be at trusted sites that they normally visit. But obviously, the hackers said it took them 6 months to get into HBO and take this information. They said it was one of the more challenging hacks they've done, so it'll be interesting to see how the forensics play out.
You know, the thing is, we never know exactly what they're stolen. There's no way to, it's not like having your jewelry box stolen where you know what all the jewels are. So how do companies like HBO protect themselves when you don't really know exactly what the hackers have taken?
Yeah, this is a great question, and this is why the focus can't just be on the incident response and cybersecurity. This is a business continuity, business resiliency plan we're talking about here, and we used to do this at the White House. We do it with companies today. And so one of the things you have to ask yourself is, if they took sort of the data that we value the highest, and they took that and destroyed it or posted on the internet, which is what these hackers are starting to do, what's our business recovery plan going to be? How will we communicate with our customers? How will we communicate, in this case, with shareholders? They've got a merger underway at their parent company. And so this is very much a business continuity discussion at this point. They should assume if the hackers were in the network for 6 months, that the hackers have just about anything they want to take. And they could also still be in the network.
Theresa, you mentioned that word challenge, but why would these hackers target HBO specifically?
There's a couple different motives that come to mind, and the first might be just to get notoriety. The second could be for financial gain. I mean, they sent this video letter with threats and demands. There's 3 days for HBO to respond. And it could also be, you know, they actually bet for and against plot lines on shows. It could literally be for gambling purposes, but there could be something more to it. They could be activists with a cause, hacktivists, and there may be something about the company or the TV programs themselves, and they're trying to basically get back at the company or back at these TV shows to basically make a point. And again, as the forensics continues, we're going to learn a lot more about these hackers because they will have left digital footprints and digital fingerprints at the scene, which will tell us a lot more about the hackers, and it'll be a little easier to really determine motive other than what they've stated in their letter.
Do you think HBO should pay the ransom, and what do you think other companies like HBO should do?
You know, this is a really tough question to answer, and if they do pay the ransom, it's unfortunate, but I don't judge HBO. I mean, they're a victim of a crime. They want their intellectual property back. They worked really hard to have a good, secure environment. They did a lot of things right. And I think at the end of the day, we all have to realize that they are a victim of a crime here. They probably will end up paying the ransom, but it's hard to say. We saw with Disney that hackers threatened saying they had the latest Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Disney did their forensics and said, we don't think you do, so we're not paying. So this is going to be a tough question, and candidly, all businesses watching your program today, one piece of advice I will give you is practice a disaster like this happening to you and ask yourself the question, if somebody demands ransom, will we pay? In what instances will we pay? When will we not pay? And what will our recovery plan be? And I can't stress the importance of planning ahead. This will continue to happen. Hackers get away with this all the time. It's hard to say whether or not these hackers will ever go to jail. But whether or not they do, just understand that hackers are here to stay, and it's better to be prepared and be on the offense than being on defense.
You talk about being prepared. Is there a way to prevent this for other companies out there?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that we would recommend that companies do. We use these strategies at the White House, and we use these today with companies that we work with. And the first is those most valuable assets that you have, you need to segment them to save them. So for example, the domain name that you use, like an HBO.com, doesn't have to be the same domain name and user IDs and passwords and email addresses that you use to protect those assets. So think about having alternate domains where you move communications traffic, where you have different protocols, where you store that sensitive information that you can't afford to get into hackers' hands. The other thing to be thinking about is when that breach happens, not if, but when that breach happens, do I have all the data in one place so that when the hackers get in, they can take it all? Or do I make it hard? Do I have a series of walls and barriers inside the company that have to be basically unlocked before you can get to all the data? And then there's a lot of really promising technology out there. It's never been easier to implement encrypted technology and some of the newer technologies, behavior-based analytics, where you can actually monitor the baseline behavior around your digital assets. And when you see something outside the norm, that's the time to act.
Yeah, so important, as you mentioned, having some sort of a plan. It's almost like a fire drill.
Right.
You know, you just need to be prepared and know that it could very well happen. Theresa Payton, we want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.